Before I share my story, I just acknowledge quite freely that there are people who think I'm crazy. And this is my story. This time of year in 2009, I was in my third year of graduate studies in Rome, Italy. And I was working on a doctoral dissertation and had decided, even during that summer, that I would not come home to Scranton, Pennsylvania for Christmas because I had to finish this dissertation. And so before I went back to school in the fall, I was resigned to the fact that I was just going to stay there and make sure this was finished. I was walking back to the residence where I lived with other American priests in studies, and I was miserable. Some of the other priests in classes were getting plane tickets, and some were already leaving to go back home for the Christmas break, and I was just full of vice, envy, and discouragement, and frustration. Now, some of you might think it's a nice thing to spend Christmas in Rome, but everything in me wanted to be in Scranton. Some of you might not have visited Scranton yet, so you don't understand. But after you visit, it will all become clear. So there I was in my self-pity and envy when this word just intruded into my thoughts. Snow. Snow. And it kind of caught my attention for two reasons. One, it was quite forceful, and two, it had nothing to do with what I was thinking about. And without there being an apparition or anything extraordinary, I had this interior sense that Mary, the mother of Jesus, appreciated the fact that this 41-year-old priest was homesick. And Mary, the Mother of God, was offering me snow to make me feel better. You may not have been to Rome either. So on your bucket list, go to Scranton first, then if you have the chance, visit Rome. It doesn't snow in Rome. It's on the Mediterranean. But Mary promised me snow. So I did the natural thing. I started telling people it's going to snow. There's a staff member of the place where I lived, an Italian. He lived in Rome his whole life, about my age. And he was insistent. Mai ce neve a Roma, mai. Mai is the word for never. He kept using it a lot. Never snows in Rome. But Mary told me. He just looked at me funny. I was able to be at midnight mass with Pope Benedict in 2009. I helped distribute communion. And it was pouring rain at midnight walking home from 10 o'clock Mass. No snow. In January, I was in Assisi helping some deacons with their retreat in preparation for priestly ordination. And there was this seminarian, a deacon in fourth year of studies, sitting in front of me in retreat, describing climbing up the mountain and reaching the snow line, and walking through snow that was knee-deep. And I thought to myself, I don't like you. You're walking in my snow. That's my snow. I don't want to hear about that. Of course, I didn't say that out loud. Then I went to confession. So I thought, well, maybe Mary wanted me to see that snow up there on the mountain. But I didn't have time to go hiking. So then February came. On February 11th, the feast of Our Lady of Lourdes, I finished writing my last chapter. And the next day I was going to hike off to my school and give it to my professor. And that evening, there was this murmur in Rome. It might snow. It was going to get really cold, and it might snow. So the next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m., I got dressed to go out and exercise, I burst through the doors into the courtyard, and there was nothing. Nothing but darkness and plants that were still green. Okay, I'm still waiting. You promised. So at that season of life, I'm a runner, but I'm not athletic, so I hurt myself running. So I was going to a pool. And I got to the pool, I swam around, I got out, and as I was leaving the pool, there were two women in the pool leaning on the gutter, pointing to the skylight. Go out, look! It's snowing. I was giddy. So I got changed, I went outside, and it was actually snowing in Rome. Rome doesn't really freeze, so it was melting on the ground, but the cars and the people were getting covered in snow. I was in heaven. I was ecstatic, watching snowflakes fall in the Tiber River, and these high school kids walking off to school in their denim jackets, totally unprepared, mystified they had never seen snow. At one point, I was crossing this busy street and waved to this little car that was at the stoplight and just scooped a mound of snow off the windshield. And the man laughed at me. And I just carried this fistful of snow as I was walking back home. And I sat in the dining room having breakfast, staring out the window, while the priest from California across the table thought the world was ending. And then finally, I pulled myself away and went back upstairs and got changed. I had to take my chapter to my professor. But I really, really enjoyed the snow. Thank you, Mary. So I came back downstairs. I had my packet with my chapter. I walked back out into the same courtyard. It wasn't snowing. It was buckets and buckets of big, white, fluffy flakes covering the grass and hanging on the palm trees. It was even better. And I walked off to my school, and some guy tried to sell me an umbrella. Why? Why would you have an umbrella in this beautiful snow? And I passed this pudgy kid who was having a snowball fight with his dad in front of the butcher shop. It was extraordinary and so beautiful. Everything in Rome stopped to behold the snowfall. Why? Because Mary promised the homesick kid from Scranton, Pennsylvania. God was close. God was near. That's the beauty of this Sunday of Advent. We rejoice because God is close. He is with us. He is near. Now, I acknowledge that being stuck in Rome for Christmas is highly untraumatic. There are much more serious problems in the world than having to spend Christmas in Rome. But even that little thing was noticed by Mary. And Mary responded even to that little thing. How much more will God, how much more does Mary pay attention to the deep hurts, the real pains that come up in life, to show us that God is close, God is near. Mary understands with a loving and gentle and compassionate heart. And so we don't rejoice because the world is a perfect place or because everything's been worked out. We rejoice because God is here. In the midst of this reality, no matter what it looks like, He is here for us. Mary notices what is ours and answers. So we really pray for that gift of faith to perceive in everything, this is what's happening, but what is God doing with it? How is God answering this moment, this situation? Even in those extreme cases, this heartbreak. How is God answering with a love that is persistent and faithful? That's the vision of faith. And that's the source of our joy. We don't have everything worked out. Not everything goes our way. There are real heartbreaks and setbacks and disappointments and hurts. And God doesn't miss any of them, doesn't overlook any of them. But He comes. I have a photo of myself and that Italian worker whose favorite word is mai, never. We're standing in the grass with this little snowman taking shape. Mary knows more than you do, Giovanni. Listen to Mary. Welcome the joy that God gives, no matter what.